Hello, and welcome to another episode of Carnivore Evolution. I'm your host, Victoria Olson, with our co host, Lisa Moss. And our guest today is Anita Breeze, better known as the Ketogenic Woman. Hello,
Yay.
Anita, and welcome to the show.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you. I've been a follower of yours for a long time.
Oh,
Very,
thank
very
you.
pleased to have you here. Anita, if you would, give us a little history and background of your diet and what you're doing these days. What's new?
Okay.
What's new?
Okay. I have a full diet career, which started when I was about 12, when my mom brought me into my very first Weight Watchers meeting. That's where it all started. Because I was really pudgy compared to the other kids at school. Back then, when I'm 67, so we're talking many years ago, but back then there was usually only one or two fat kids in a class, and I was one of them. And so it was just this constant, nagging, I think, from my mom mostly, who was also overweight, and I guess she knew how hard it was and didn't want me to suffer the same fate. My two sisters were both thin, and we ate the same. We were in the same family. We were close in age, eating the same foods, but somehow my body was different from their bodies, and my I like we literally ate the same stuff, but I was the chubby one in the family. And by the time I did go to that first Weight Watchers meeting, I couldn't fit into regular girl clothes like from a store. I was size 16 or to 18 at that
Okay.
age. And so my mom always had to take me to the woman's store,
Yes.
and it was mortifying for me. The clothes there were horrible compared to what my classmates were wearing. And so that Weight Watchers meeting started a whole yo-yo up and down over the years. I literally have been on every diet. My mom was a magazine dieter. She got Good Housekeeping and all those women's magazines back then. And every week, you know what they're like. They have the new diet on the cover of the magazine. Lose 10 pounds this week, and she would follow them and she would put me on them. So I became very adept at the the grapefruit and egg diet, the whatever, all these different fad diets are basically what I grew up on. I think one of the worst ones was when she went on the AIDS diet. Do you guys know what that is? You get these little
Yes. Yes. I
I knew
used to have a
Victoria
box
would
of
know.
them.
I
Yes.
knew you would
Chocolate
know.
fudge. They were like little caramels. They were wonderful, but
They
they didn't do anything for you.
they were chocolate fudge candies that were going to suppress your appetite, and you were to eat two before each meal. Well, let me tell you, they tasted quite good. And my sister, who the one she's 1 year younger than me, she was thin as a rail, and she liked those as well. So her and I would sneak into the fridge, and we'd
Oh.
be we'd be eating those like candy because that's what they were. They like,
Yes, they
so
were.
clear. Obviously, that diet did not work for me, and I think she got severe tummy issues from it. So,
Oh
So
no.
wait, what
but
was that again, Anita? What was the name of it?
AIDS,
That
but spelled AW or AYDS,
Why? Dear.
okay.
AYDS.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Interesting.
Well, I know. It was a thing back then. Anyway, so yeah, that it was that kind of thing that I did, and over the course of my late teens and 20s, I'm sure I lost 80 to 100 pounds several times over. Just every time I would follow the diet, and it was usually something that made no sense when I look at it now, and I would gain it all back because there was always that time when you go back. I'm finished now. I look pretty good. I could fit into smaller clothes. it's time to go back to what I was doing before, and just not having that knowledge of why was the all the processed food so desirable? Why did I go back to it? I'm sure that you both have been down that road, probably a few times as well,
Yes.
where you think you're done. You hit a
Mm.
certain weight and you think you're done, not realizing that you can't go back to what you did before because you're going to get the same results you had before. So gradually over the years, I ended up at 320 pounds.
Oh my.
And that was in my early 50s, around there. I decided it was now or never. I had to make a change. I had to make a big change. And so what I decided to do at that time, one of the many diets that I had been on over the years was Atkins. Again, we found him in a magazine, my mom and I. And, at the time, back then, I think that was in the 70s, he seemed freaky too. Like that seemed like a crazy crash diet because you didn't eat any, there was no bread, no pasta. You just ate meat, butter, steak and butter was what he liked. You just ate meat and butter, and then I think 2 cups of vegetables a day. And that was the one of the very few diets that I actually enjoyed being on. I felt good being on it. It seemed right. And so when I hit that top weight, that's where I decided to go. I would go back to that. I just remembered, because I had tried that a few times. It worked every time I went on it, and I felt good on it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start with that because that worked for me. And I even have his book still, the Diet
Yes.
Revolution.
Yeah.
And
So do I.
yeah, and it worked well. And now around this time, so this was, about 12, 13, 14, well, I'm 67 and I was just in my early yeah. So it was more than more than 10 years ago. But I started, we all got the internet around that time, or maybe you guys already had it. I was a late comer to internet, but I started, looking for recipes to support this new way of eating that I was doing. And then I started hearing about keto, and which intrigued me. And because a friend of mine had a son who had seizures, he had 300 or 400 seizures every single day. And
Wow.
yeah, he was really sick. She had put him on a keto diet after researching, and but it was a medically prescribed. Everything was weighed and measured, and it was very high fat, like 80 to 90% fat on what he was doing. It cured his seizures. He's a
Wow.
young, yeah,
Oh, it's
he is
wonderful.
yeah, and so he can hold down a job, and he drives a car. He does have some permanent damage because you don't get that many seizures every day without some damage, but he healed enough that he was able to live a normal life. And so I knew about keto from a medical perspective
Wow.
before I thought, oh, but maybe this would work for, for someone like me, because I started seeing things on the internet about people who are overweight losing weight on keto. And so that was kind of my introduction to keto for normal people, not in terms of seizures. So I already had an idea that it was a healing protocol when done correctly. Now, I didn't do it correct. I mean, I did. So Dr. Atkins, I think his original way is done correctly, because it is, a higher fat, moderate protein diet. And he included some vegetables, but nothing else. Not all the other processed keto foods that are out there. And so I went more keto, and but unfortunately, I fell into the trap of I love to cook, and so I made it my mission to ketofy everything that I loved, and which is, some people need that bridge over, and I
Yeah.
don't fault them for that at all. I don't judge them, because I needed that bridge over. But then
Yeah.
I had to let go. I had to let go of those things to progress further with my weight loss. The first thing I gave up was nuts, which was a
Um,
hard one. It
yes.
was really hard. I did that in 2017. And so, yeah, I don't eat nuts. And because they're a binge food for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I started following, let's say, a proper human diet was over 10 years ago. And now I'm carnivore, and
Mhm.
uh and love it. I mean, I'm not a perfect carnivore. I just want to be upfront about that. Definitely not
How
perfect.
how long have you been carnivore, and what did you notice about the switch over? How was your transition from keto to carnivore?
Yeah, so I had never intended to be carnivore. Around the time that I was thinking of giving up, some things to progress with my weight loss, because I was stuck for a long time, I discovered Kelly Hogan. And this was in her early days. She was putting out some content. This is before Instagram and all that other stuff. And so I discovered her that way. And again, I thought, no, that's too much. That's too much. Nobody does that. You can't survive on just meat. Um, but I gradually cleaned up, and so I would say I can call myself a carnivore for about 4 years. But before I switched to become a carnivore, I was doing really clean keto. I
Mhm.
gave up the nuts. I gave up keto treats. I gave up
Mhm.
anything that was purchased from the store that's had a keto label on it,
Yeah.
because so many processed foods in there. So I really, it really was a start of just sort of cleaning up things in my diet and in my home. Like trying to clean up my whole environment and my mindset. Um, Around this time, my father passed away, and I had some weight regain, and so from the stress, I just didn't know how to deal with this, and my mother had Alzheimer's and dementia, and I became her full time caregiver.
Wow.
So
Very
it,
stressful.
it
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
it was stressful, and she herself was 100 pounds overweight. And at this point, I had lost, 80 or so pounds. Uh, but then, I had some weight regain, and um, having to take care of my mother is what actually changed everything for me. It became my why not to end up like my mother.
Yeah.
Um, there was I mean, she had a complete loss of human dignity with her illness. She had so many comorbidities. It got to the point where I just knew that I was looking at my own future, watching what she was going through, and that it was really important that I change everything, clean up everything, so that my kids didn't have to go through the things that I went through, taking care of her. And we're talking so many things like, just difficulty with everything, difficulty dressing, having to be taken everywhere, having to make all her decisions for her, eventually having to, unplug the stove so that she couldn't cook.
Wow.
Though, like, just it was just a gradual loss of control and dignity in her life that I didn't want for myself or my kids. I mean, and things like when she fell at her weight, I had to call the fire department,
Mm.
because it took three big men to get her up off the floor.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was a hard time, but it made me really strong in my convictions. So I lost the weight that I gained when my dad died, and then I kept losing more after that. And still I'm still 30 pounds overweight. And I'm still working on it. Like the last pounds are really tough, but I have, I'm somewhere between 145 and 150 pounds lost. And
That's
I
amazing,
know.
Anita.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yes, it
I
is
know the rest
wonderful.
will get there, and
Yeah.
I'm working on it. But it yeah. So I hope I didn't go on too long about that, but
No,
that was
no,
really a
please,
turning
please,
point for me.
please do go on. Did you notice anything specifically different between keto and carnivore?
Yes.
And
Yes.
were they good things? Tell us about that, please.
Yes. So while I was keto, even clean keto, I still had plantar fasciitis. Which is a really painful condition when you get up out of bed and you can barely stand because it's so painful. So I still had that. I had torn my meniscus about 15, 16 years ago. Had great knee pain.
Oh,
Um, so there was that. The food noise and the cravings were constantly there. And it was something that I basically fought on a daily basis. I mean, I know that some people can do keto and just thrive, and bless them. But
mhm.
I didn't know it at the time, but a certain number of carbs do still trigger me. The
Yeah.
other thing was really bad acid reflux. I was on a medication for 15 years that did not go away with keto
Yeah.
either.
Mhm.
So when I omitted the vegetables and the fruits and the last of the keto treats, those things those things just started to go away. And in fact, one day somebody said to me, "Oh, yeah, I've got this plantar fasciitis. It's so painful." And it was in that moment I went, "Wait a minute." Mine's gone. I didn't even because it
Yes.
just happened gradually, and then all of a sudden I realized, wow, I haven't had any pain in my feet for months. It just
Oh,
disappeared.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes,
And the acid reflux, it's gone now. That was the last thing to
really.
go because I
That's
found it
great.
hard even with carnivore. I was still getting it was much improved. I actually was able to wean myself off the prescription.
Good.
And that took time because the medication they give you is really hard to get. You can't just quit. You have to taper off
Yeah.
or you're in great pain because it destroys your stomach acid.
Mhm.
I have really low stomach acid now as a result of being on that medication for so many years, but it's improving. And one of the things that has really improved it, for a while I was doing that L-reuteri yogurt, but
Yes.
even with that, it didn't cure it 100%. It kept coming back when I stopped doing the yogurt. Fasting.
Mm.
Fasting has
Oh,
really helped the stomach acid
Yeah.
problem. And I found out why too, which I didn't know why.
yeah.
Um, but I found out that if you do a 36-hour fast, it's at the 24-hour mark that stem cells in your digestion system are starting to be
Mm.
replaced and
No
repaired.
kidding. I
And
did not know that about fasting, and I was trained to
yeah,
be a fasting coach.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that either. I learned
Wow.
that from Dr. Boz. I took her
Mhm.
21-day metabolic reset, and I think she said it on a video once too. But yeah, so that little change, because I don't like going without food. I don't like
No,
doing.
No.
I don't like
No.
the. I like my steaks. I like my meat. But if I do that just once every few weeks, 36-hour fast, man, I feel good. I don't get any of that acid reflux. And so I think it's just a slow repair. It's just a slow repair. Carnivore did a lot and that kind of almost finished the job. So
Wow, that's wonderful
Going
and very insightful. Sorry.
Yeah, no, going carnivore also made me realize that I had an issue with nightshade vegetables. I didn't
Yes.
know that. I didn't know I had that issue. It was what happened was I went really clean, strict carnivore. I did lion diet. I did just meat, salt, and water for a while, and then I thought, okay, I'm gonna add some things back, see what happens, and so chicken is okay, and pork and eggs, like those things are okay in my program. But I added I went out for dinner. I had a Greek salad, I think it was, with my dinner. Holy smokes, I was um the acid reflux came
Wow.
back with a vengeance, and so I
Oh.
started looking into it. So it turns out that a lot of my favorite vegetables are nightshades.
Mm-hmm.
um, and they're the ones that will affect they affect me like crazy, like headaches, burning,
Mm.
just the whole. I'm up all night if I have any nightshades.
Anita,
There are
what's your, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, that's okay.
I was just going to ask you, what is your weakness? What is your one true weakness that that if you have, like, you just can't control yourself? Is it
Oh, like
sweet?
yeah,
Is it
I
sweets?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweets are they can be a thing for me. So that's why the keto treats had to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And even so I have learned to make some carnivore desserts without sweeteners.
Hmm.
And I find them perfectly acceptable, but even then it's something, a special occasion, like a birthday. I'll make the oopsie cake or carnivore cheesecake or something like that. So a birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving on a date. I mean, I see people doing that on the daily. I feel like if they're stalled, that's probably the reason why.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. But
Yeah.
Are you
No.
using sweeteners in your carnivore treats
um,
and
I
tolerating
will
them?
if other people, like, if it's just for me, no. I every once in a while, like especially over the summer, you get a heat wave. I like, I make some carnivore ice cream. I like it without sweeteners. I don't need the
Mhm.
sweeteners in it. But if I'm having company over, I'll make a carnivore cheesecake. I will use some allulose in that.
Mhm.
Doesn't see, it doesn't affect me. I don't run off binging or craving after that. It's just, but it has to be once in a while, because even without the sweetener, the creaminess,
Mhm.
there are things that kind of trigger me a little bit. So I just have to put very strict boundaries on it.
So you're good with dairy? Dairy doesn't put weight on you or impact your health otherwise, because it does for me.
Me too.
It, if I have it daily, yeah, it'll stall me for sure. So again, dairy has to be kind of a once in a while thing, condiment only. I do see people, making very dairy heavy, not desserts, but just even, you know,
Dishes, yeah.
yeah, carnivore dishes that are mostly dairy. I can't do those. Just again, it has to be
Mhm.
minimal.
Mhm.
I'd have to see
Unfortunately.
dairy as a condiment as opposed
Yes,
to
yeah. As Dr.
main
Chafer
part.
says, it should be a condiment.
Yeah, yeah.
So what
So,
what does a day of eating look like for you typically?
so typically it's fatty meat. Right now, right now I'm doing a sardine, a
Yeah.
3-day sardine thing with a group of people. I'll just tell
Mhm.
you how many hours I'm into that now. I use my fasting app for that. I'm 17 hours into 72 hours of sardines.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
Dr. Boz thing, I know.
that's a Dr. Boz thing, and it's very effective
Mhm.
for boosting ketones and lowering my blood glucose. I check
Mhm.
that every morning now, so it's good for that. But normally, I really like the fattier meats. I like chuck And in Canada, we have blade steak because it's very similar to chuck, but they call it blade steak here. Is that true in Alberta too, Lisa? Like I'm in
Yeah,
BC.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blade. So I love a good blade steak. You just have to braise it, cook it low and slow. It's very tender. So those meat that has a good amount of fat. Brisket is another one of my favorites.
Mhm.
Yeah, I also do quite a bit of seafood now. So part of my journey that has been significant to me is that 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was about 3 years ago actually, I did do a sardine challenge because I saw Dr. Boz talking about it on her channel, and I follow her. Um, and it was the first time in many years that I had had seafood, and I thought, I feel pretty good. I'm going to start adding more seafood. My favorites are salmon, and I like shrimp, but salmon is one of those ones that has the good fatty acid profile. So I go for those. And I realized that my knee pain. So my knee pain was still there because I took a nasty fall about three and a
Oh,
half, 4 years ago. My knee was feeling better from the torn meniscus and all that other stuff, and I do walk every day, but I took a really bad fall and just came down on that knee,
Ooh.
and it
dear.
was so bad that I needed to go to the doctor. They did an X-ray, sent me to a knee surgeon, and he said, yeah, that knee. So he said not only was there damage like from the meniscus and everything else, but there's also a lot of arthritis. He said you're in like the
Mm.
final like stage 4, I think, arthritis in that knee, or D. Can't remember if it's a letter or a number. But anyways, they recommended knee replacement. But
Mm.
here in Canada, of course, we have these long lists. So I went on the waiting list for knee replacement. But in the meantime, I upped my omega-3 content. I started doing more seafood, more salmon, more
Mhm.
sardines. I explored other ones too, mackerel and anchovies and all that. And barely a day went by for at least a year where I didn't have some kind of seafood in the day. So if I had a steak, there'd be a can of sardines on the side, that kind of thing. And when they called me last September to tell me, well, you're pretty much at the top of the list. We need to start, doing, we're going to send you for this, that, and the other thing because your surgery date is coming up. I said, it's okay. Take me off the list. my,
Really
yeah, yeah.
wonderful.
So my
Good.
Wow.
my pain threshold basically went from, I would have described it as an 8 on most days, down to maybe 1 or 2.
Wow.
So
Fantastic.
it's still there. I still have the
Mhm.
arthritis. I have stiffness if I do too much, but I can go on daily walks. I can function. So the longer I put off that surgery, I think the better for me. I had a conversation with Dr. Sean Baker, about this because he was stuck beside me on a bus when I went to Meatstock 2 years ago. And so
Mm.
I talked to him about it. And he said, yeah, if you're not having pain, the reason people get knee surgery, the biggest reason is to relieve that pain. So if your
Mhm.
pain is under control and you're not having to take steroids or get the steroid shots or any of those things, then yeah, if you can put it off. And so that's kind of my strategy. I'm going to put it off. I mean, I recognize that cartilage and everything else, there's damage. It may never grow back, but who knows? Maybe it's just going to be good enough.
Yeah.
If I can still go on my walks and I can still live my day to day without the knee surgery, because there's risks with any surgery,
Mm.
including going under anesthetic has links to dementia, and I do not want to do
Yes,
dementia.
that happened to my
So
father. Yeah. Mhm.
yes, yeah. So I just am going to put it off for as long as possible, and maybe if I can bear with it until I'm 80. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just
Well, it sounds
just
like
feel
good
okay about it.
advice from Dr. Baker, who is an
Yes.
orthopedic surgeon, we know. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
if there's no inflammation, likely there's no further damage happening, and you're
Yes.
healing. So that whole scenario sounds wonderful. Like it's kind of wrapping itself up and taking care of itself.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes, and recently I did have blood work that they checked was it the CRP? There's an inflammation marker. I
Yeah.
may have the
Mhm.
letters wrong, but it was like point 4. They want you to be under 10 or something like that, and mine was 0.4
Oh, wow.
inflammation. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah,
Excellent. That's
I
and
think
great.
I
that's a
attribute
C.
I
I think,
attribute that to the
yeah,
seafood. I really do.
yeah,
All
yeah.
those
Well,
omega 3.
you eat a lot of seafood,
I
Anita.
do.
It's
I
like,
do. Yeah.
the sardine challenges and stuff, but I don't eat enough seafood, and I'm from the East Coast, and I should be eating more seafood, but it seems like it's
Yeah.
harder to get here for me. Like the wild caught stuff, it's harder. But no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to eat more seafood as well, for sure.
Now, I've been
We all should.
taking pure EPA or fish oil,
Okay.
omega-3
Okay.
fish oil, and we've been doing that, gosh, since 2021. So it's quite a long time that we've been doing that while carnivore, because neither my husband or I are big on fish, although I like shrimp and seafood, crab and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I like those. I've learned to like it.
Anita, I
Yeah.
have a question for you.
Sure.
You amass quite a substantial, respectable body of work as Ketogenic Woman on YouTube. And I wondered what your philosophy is about that history as a ketogenic dieter versus a
Hmm.
carnivore dieter. How do you, what's your perspective on having been keto for so long, and
Yeah.
are you leaving that to remain and stand as it is? What are your thoughts on having converted over, switched over?
Yeah. So I had considered, well, maybe I should take the keto recipes down. Maybe I should change the name. So there's two reasons why I decided against that. I decided to leave the recipes as they were because I was brought to carnivore through keto.
Mhm.
And I have talked to many people who said, well, I found your old keto recipes and now I'm carnivore. They also, people are still out there making that transition. And for some people, I mean, if you had told me 10 years ago, you're gonna be really excited every day to have just meat on a plate, I would have thought, nah. No, I don't think so. I needed that bridge, that transition, and there are people out there who go straight from standard American diet to carnivore, and
Mm.
and I applaud them. I mean, that's not easy to do, and I couldn't have foreseen being a carnivore back then. So that's the one reason. The other reason is that through people like Dr. Boz is a good example, and Dr. Bickman, I've come to realize that I do best when I'm making ketones. And a lot of people in the carnivore space, I've had people come to my channel when I've mentioned ketosis or whatever in the carnivore context, and stop chasing ketones, you don't need ketones, blah 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 blah. At my age, I think I do. I think I
I
do.
agree. I
And
agree.
yeah, and to me, I like to tell people I'm doing carnivore with a K. I'm checking
Mhm.
if I'm in ketosis. I think I
Me
do
too.
better. And ketones, I think a lot of people don't give them the credit they deserve in the carnivore community, because they are, it's a sign. If your blood glucose is in the 2 digits in the morning, well, in Canada we have different
Yeah.
blood glucose, but so under 100, for the Americans, and under 5, I think it is for the Canadians with our measuring system, and you have more than 0.5 ketones, you're in a therapeutic, like you're doing well. You're doing well. And so I try to make sure that that's happening. It's a sign of metabolic health to me. And so for me, it is. I'm still a ketogenic woman.
I agree with you. I'm 100%. I'm in that camp. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if someone came to you and said, I'm curious about carnivore, how should I start? What basic rules would you give them? What kind of guidance would you give to someone interested in starting carnivore?
Yeah, I would say to start, keep it very simple. And I would highly advise, because I have fallen into this trap with some of my first attempts at carnivore, um, cleaning everything in your kitchen and fridge, freezer, pantry, like give it away, send it away, throw it away, whatever you need to do, because those first few weeks are tough. And
Yeah.
they'll call your name. I mean, I hung on to things that I shouldn't have hung on in, my first couple of attempts. Sugar-free chocolate chips, for example, because someday I might need those. Well, sure, a week later I needed them to, buy the handful, right? so
Yeah.
so I think it really helps to get rid of what, everything. It is. I recognize that it's hard for people with kids and families. I mean, I was doing this when I still had teenagers and their friends around. So I, you know, my philosophy has shifted a little bit on that. I don't if I had young kids now, I don't want them having seed oils. I don't want them having processed stuff. There's too many kids out there who are pre-diabetic now, and have mental health issues.
Yes.
In my community here, we have a strong carnivore community here. Like we have meetups and dinners and things. One of the women is she's a psychologist, or psychiatrist. She's one of those. She's professional, university, um, you know, I think she has a PhD, whatever. But yeah, she sees people in her practice, and she says the people with the worst mental health that she's treating are vegetarians and people that are
Oh,
not getting enough animal products like protein
wow.
and fat from animals,
That's
and that concerns her.
oh
And
yeah.
and I and I really I so I didn't there's a lot that I know now that I didn't know when I was first doing this, and so I was more lenient with the foods that were allowed to stay in the house. I just made like an area that was theirs so that I wouldn't have to see it constantly.
Yeah.
But I think if I was raising kids today, I would raise them on a whole foods only diet, even if it's vegetables and fruit. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got 2 sons that are vegetarian. So,
Really?
and that's hard for me, but they grow their own vegetables. They live downstairs, and they have a garden. It's all organic. They cook everything from scratch. And so I'm really grateful that at least they've learned that. I hope that at some point they add meat. I don't know. But they have eggs, butter, and dairy. So I'm also grateful for that, because they're getting something. They're getting
Yes,
something good.
yes.
Um, and they're
Very
pretty healthy. So
wow.
yeah.
I know that you have started using your platform on YouTube to help other people. Can you tell us about that? You have sessions where you have questions and answers. How is that
Yeah.
coming along? And is there some way, is it different from your old channel? And tell us about that, please.
So basically, I mean, obviously I'm hoping that the, cooking videos will also help people that are, I mean, there are people that come to Carnivore who have no idea about any cuts of meat at all. All they know is ground beef and steaks, and they don't even know that there's like, 50 different steak cuts that you could have.
Yes.
So I'm hopefully providing some education there. I do a live Q&A every Sunday night on my channel. And a lot of times we have a particular topic. For instance, last night we talked about, how to decide whether you should add any carbs back or not, because that seems to be a big topic out there. And hopefully people got from my talk and my handout that please don't, like, make sure it's not your addiction talking, and only add something if it's going to serve you, not just because you hear it from other people. Oh, I think it'll help my thyroid if I add these carbs back. Carbs are not an essential nutrient for
Yes.
anything. Fiber is not essential. We do quite well without fiber. I have a daily poop. I know it's TMI, but it's daily, and I don't eat.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't eat any fiber. So, I do that sort of thing. I also have a private members group on YouTube where you can join, and we meet by Zoom a couple of times a week just to be in a community, just to have that community, because I feel like community is really important. That's why I loved going to Meat Stock. I went there the last 2 years. I'm going to go again in May
See you
this
there.
year. Yeah, see you there. You're going too, right, Lisa?
Yes, my first
Me
time.
too.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll see you both there. They're having great speakers and all, but honestly, for me, it was just communing
Yeah.
with like-minded people for
Mhm.
those few days. That is the best part for me.
Yeah.
It's fantastic who's going to be there speaking. Love all that. But I can hear them on YouTube too. But it's just the talking face to face to people who are doing this same journey. That's what I really like about it.
Me too. I
And
enjoyed it.
so, yeah, and so on my channel, I try to provide that community for those people that want to join that, and kind of, meet once or twice a week and just talk about these things. I
Yeah.
am writing a book. I have
Oh,
a publishing contract with Victory Belt, and that book will come out next year. And I'm going to talk about, some of these same things a little bit in the book, but it's mostly a cookbook. It is really a cookbook. And,
mhm.
we'll hopefully go over all the basics for those budding newbie carnivores out there.
Mhm.
Wow. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can't
Thank
Glad
wait.
to
you.
see that. Excellent.
Thank
Well, this has been a great session. Thank you so much, Anita.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really
I
appreciate your being
appreciate
here.
that you invited me.
Oh, we are just thrilled to have you here and to hear from you. And do you have any more questions, Lisa?
No, I just want to say Anita is one of my favorite people on,
Oh,
in the carnivores. But you're so knowledgeable, and I just love listening to you. Like
Yes.
you are one of the better ones, just because you're so people really connect with you because you're not afraid to
Yes.
say, oh, I'm not 100%, or you're honest, right? And that's what a
mhm.
lot of the influencers I find out there now, that they're just, not all of them, but there's some that are just doing it for, they're not doing it for the right reason. And I've never
Yeah.
found that you, Anita. I've always found that right from when I met you at Meat Stock, I'm like, wow, she is so down to earth. She's such a special person. And And if you don't follow Anita, you need to follow her because yeah, she's one of the best ones out there for knowledge and just conversation. And she's not trying to be anybody. She's just Anita. She's just awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I often say to people, there's something one thing you're never going to see on my channel is clickbait, and you're never
Yeah.
going to see me in a bikini on a thumbnail. It's never,
Oh,
neither of
darn.
those things are ever going to happen.
No.
This is the real me, and if you see a video that I'm putting out, before you click on it what it's going to be about. It's like the clickbait drives me insane.
Oh, me
Pet
too.
peeve of mine,
Yeah.
but people got to do what they got to do, and I feel like I want to just work with. I want to be there with integrity. I really do. So
Well,
I
that's
Yeah.
appreciate
certainly
your
true.
words, Lisa.
Well, I echo those words completely. There's so much integrity and strength and humanness. It's just wonderful to have you on the show and to help
Thank
spread
you.
what you're doing, the work you're doing. And thank you for it.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I love coming out and talking to people about this journey and everything about it.
Well,
We
we
need
enjoyed
more
it.
people.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we may have you
Yeah.
back too, especially when your
Mhm.
book
Yeah.
is out and you'd like to promote it. We'd love to be part of that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, very nice. Thank you so much. All right, ladies, I think we're going to wrap up our session for now.
Okay.
And thanks to Anita Breeze and Lisa Moss. And I'm Victoria Olson signing off now. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.